Florida, the cultural heart of the city, as we like to call it. Steve, on behalf of everyone here at Books and Books, we welcome you. Please take your time to pick up a copy of our Books and Books newsletter. This will give you a breakdown of all the wonderful events we have at Books and Books every night of the week. Plus, we are live at Coral Gables, Florida. Spanish events, kids events, Poet City is first time college. Celebrity signings on Books and Books, we welcome you. Please take your time to pick up a copy of our Books and Books newsletter. This will give you a breakdown of all the wonderful events we have at Books and Books every night of the week. Plus, we are live at Coral Gables, Florida. Spanish events, kids events, Poet City is first time college. Baby watching signings on Books and Books, we welcome you. Please take your time to pick up a copy of our Books and Books newsletter. This also remind you that safe photography is the live week. Again, live at Coral Gables, Florida. Events, events, Poet City is first time college. Baby watching signings on Books and Books, we welcome you. Please take your time to pick up a copy of our Books and Books newsletter. This also remind you that safe photography is the live week. Again, live at Coral Gables, Florida. Events, events, Poet City is first time college. Baby watching signings on Books and Books, we welcome you. Please take your time to pick up a copy of our Books and Books newsletter. This also remind you that safe photography is the live week. Again, live at Coral Gables, Florida. Events, events, Poet City is first time college. Baby watching signings on Books and Books, we welcome you. Please take your time to pick up a copy of our Books and Books newsletter. This also remind you that safe photography is the live week. Again, live at Coral Gables, Florida. Events, events, Poet City is first time college. Baby watching signings on Books and Books, we welcome you. Please take your time to pick up a copy of our Books and Books newsletter. This also remind you that safe photography is the live week. Again, live at Coral Gables, Florida. Events, events, Poet City is first time college. Baby watching signings on Books and Books, we welcome you. Please take your time to pick up a copy of our Books and Books newsletter. This also remind you that safe photography is the live week. Again, live at Coral Gables, Florida. Events, events, Poet City is first time college. Baby watching signings on Books and Books, we welcome you. Please take your time to pick up a copy of our Books and Books newsletter. This also remind you that safe photography is the live week. Again, live at Coral Gables, Florida. Events, events, Poet City is first time college. Baby watching signings on Books and Books, we welcome you. Please take your time to pick up a copy of our
Hi everybody. So when I was 16, my friend Derek here was 2. Derek's going to play some songs for you guys. Derek is in a band called The Big Time. Hi everybody. So when I was 16, my friend Derek here was 2. Derek's going to play some songs for you guys. Derek is in a band called The Big Time. Hi everybody. So when I was 16, my friend Derek here was 2. Derek's going to play some songs for you guys. Derek is in a band called The Big Time. Hi everybody. So when I was 16, my friend Derek here was 2. Derek's going to play some songs for you guys. Derek is in a band called The Big Time. Hi everybody. So when I was 16, my friend Derek here was 2. Derek's going to play some songs for you guys. So when I was 16, my friend Derek here was 2. Derek's going to play some songs for you guys.
performance. I'm having a lot of fun. Are you guys excited? Are you having a good time? Okay. Well, 3 days ago when she asked me to do this performance, she also asked me to play a special song, and it's by a band that some of you may know called Crimson and Clover, those of you that have read the book. And whenever I got this book from Amy, we were in New York City. We had a show, we just played a show, and I went out to eat with her and her lovely husband, Josh. And we were just talking about books. I'm like a huge Lord of the Rings fan. Like I really, really love Tolkien. And we were talking and just BSing and stuff, and she asked me if I read, and I said, yeah, I love to read. And she gave me this book. And I was like, what is this? And she handed me a copy of A Million Miles, and inside of it there was just a CD. And I forget what the CD says on it. It's something really cool. I can't remember. But it had these 5 songs on it. I was listening. I'm like, who's this band? I've never heard of this band before. And it's Crimson and Clover. So I'm going to play this song, and it's called I Wish I Was There. I know I shouldn't call you. I know you're not awake. I don't tell you now, it would be a mistake. Staring into the skyline, trying to find your face. These are the kinds of scars that don't leave a trace. It's 5 a.m. in Brooklyn, 3 hours in between. The sky lights up the East Coast, you'll be a dream. I wish I was there. I wish I was there. Time keeps passing by, and I wish I was there. I wish I was there. I wish I was there. Time keeps passing by, and I wish I was there. I still feel your presence in the city we used to share. I still hear your voice when nobody's there. Lights flash on the highway, I'm losing control. Just give me a sign that I'm coming home. It's 5 a.m. in Brooklyn, 3 hours in between. As the sky lights up the East Coast, it'll be a dream. I wish I was there. I wish I was there. Time keeps passing by, and I wish I was there. I wish I was there. I wish I was there. Time keeps passing by, and I wish I was there. It's 5 a.m. in Brooklyn. Thank you guys so much. My name is Derek. I play in a band called The Big Time. Please look us up. Everyone, please give a warm, warm welcome to my lovely friend Amy Fleisher Madden. Thank you so much. I hope I didn't miss it.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Amy.
Hi. My dad calls this the 20th anniversary of my bat mitzvah. I feel like it's like my high school reunion and more. It's overwhelming. And then to just have Derek come up here and just play like, no big deal. I'm like, okay, I can do this. So I want to read a little bit from my book for you. But as a special treat, I want to read something to you that hasn't been released yet. So a few months ago when I decided to publish the book, a friend of mine in a band, his current band is called Cold Cave, and he used to be in a hardcore band called American Nightmare, and he's one of my favorite writers. I sent him the book, and I said, will you please write a foreword for my book? It would mean the world to me. And he didn't write me back. I was a little bit devastated, and lo and behold, a month ago, he said, I never got that email. I would love to write a foreword for your book. Is it too late? And I said, yes, it is too late. But the good news is I only printed a few books, so it can be in the second edition. But I thought as a treat for you guys, I would read to what Wes wrote. So here we go. These are some words from Wes. There are a few sides to a touring band, but for the sake of this foreword, let's break it into two categories. The band and the people who have to deal with the band. The tour managers, drivers, sound, and merch people. God bless them. Throughout my years of touring, I often wondered what a rational perspective of tour would sound like. This is it. A Million Miles is the story of Maddie, a tour manager, and Crimson and Clover, a band. It is a novel that could only be written from the voice of someone who loved and lived the music, the people they were traveling with, whose dreams they shared and worked toward achieving, all without the ego of the stage. Amy and I were from different planets in the same galaxy, growing up obsessed with music, making fanzines, promoting shows. I started American Nightmare, and she started Fiddler Records. That was the evolution of the underground if you were really in it. Make music or release music. Our paths first crossed sometime in the early 2000s, when people we knew were starting to get popular for music that had only been secluded to subculture since its inception. If you were around for this era of punk, hardcore, emo, or whatever, these pages will especially speak to you. You'll recognize the characters, those fictitious and those not, and you'll see yourself in both. If you weren't of that era, the same triumphs and traps that go with the dream of being in a band out in the world still exist today. All of the fumbles, fuck-ups, and flat tires grant you these brief moments of glory that no one really ever gets to see. Beauty is naivete is youth. The drinks, drugs, and disasters you dive headfirst into serve multiple purposes: to flirt with mortality and just to find out who really cares about you. When you're 20-something and on the open road with a loose schedule to show up and play songs with your best friends, you have a lot of time to find such answers. The world is yours, but there are no directions on how to get there. If you're really fortunate, you have someone like Maddie or Amy along with you. Reading A Million Miles, I often smiled when reminded of the absurdity of my own tour stories and how similar my real experiences were to those of the invented Crimson and Clover. I embraced my own social awkwardness through Maddie, a warm reminder of what first attracted me to this world in the first place, and I thought of how cool it was that we all got to meet each other in real life. To all of the roadies and tour managers I made suffer, and there were a lot, thank you for keeping most of us alive. So that's some stuff from Wes. It's really intense being on the other side of the stage, guys. Like, really intense. I thought writing a book was hard. I also wanted to read a couple of passages from the book. It's a tricky thing because I don't want to reveal too much for people that haven't read it. There's a lot of names and there's a lot of things, so I'm going to keep it brief. But this first bit, it's about Miami, which is my home. If you're wondering how I ended up with this punk rock dream job, I guess the story begins at a gay bar named The Hall. It's a few blocks away from my parents' house in Miami, where I grew up. The cool thing about gay bars is they're way more open to having punk rock shows than, let's say, a sports bar. I like to think it's some kind of solidarity between people who have been picked on. Long before I discovered The Hall, I was graced with Brian, the coolest older brother in the history of brothers. Brian played me 9 Inch Nails for the first time when I was in 7th grade, when he was driving me to school. I may or may not have thought that the entire band had 9-inch fingernails, so I was impressed when he told me that they played keyboards. Black Flag, The Misfits, Nirvana, he gave me a proper punk rock education while also exposing me to grunge. I remember driving through Coconut Grove when he played me Alice in Chains for the first time. He told me they had 2 singers. I mean, 2 singers. My response was, is this a secret or does everyone know this? It must have been kind of cute. So when my brother went to college, I was left to my own musical devices. Sort of. My father didn't understand the music I liked. He said that it sounded like my NoFX tape was playing at the wrong speed. But he would still take me to a record store called Blue Note almost every weekend. This was a big deal because Blue Note was in Fort Lauderdale, 20 miles from our house. It was pure luck that Blue Note had a jazz blues section on one side and a punk hardcore room on the other. It's like it was designed for cool fathers and their socially awkward daughters. It was thanks to dear old Dad and my brother Brian that I was already interested in music when some friends at school told me about a band playing at the Hall. I'd only been to a few concerts. My dad took me to see Paul Simon, and I saw the New Kids on the Block, but I'd never seen a cool band. A bunch of us ended up going to that show, and I still don't know why my parents let me out on a Tuesday night. I think maybe it was because the Hall was so close to my house, and also because I had promised to be home by 11:30, which was way before I went to bed anyway. To say I fell in love with the scene would be a gross understatement. I loved the dark bar, the low lighting, the rapidly unfelting pool table in the corner, everything. But what I loved the most was the music. That night we saw a band from Gainesville called Hot Water Music, and that was all I needed. I was hooked. I found what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a part of whatever I was a part of that night for as long as humanly possible. I wanted this to be my scene. So a little bit further into the book, Maddie starts to realize that touring is really tough, and it's tiring, and it's dangerous, and if you're not in the band, it really wears on your soul. Even if you're in the band, it does wear on your soul. But it's different when it's not your band. So this next passage is about Maddie really coming to terms with what's going on. At this point, they've encountered strippers that weren't really even strippers. One of the band members is missing his front teeth, and they're in Austin, Texas, and it's just about to get crazier. The strangest thing about being on tour is that nothing really matters. Less than 24 hours ago, Needleman was getting his face punched in by a pimp, yet here we are, ready to make a whole new batch of mistakes. Maybe it's because we're the only ones who have any recollection of the things that happened to us. There's no accountability. These stories will disappear when we stop telling them or using them to make fun of each other. I mean, Nate is missing his front teeth and no one cares. Touring truly drives you a little bit crazy, though. Not like institutionalized crazy, but like you kind of want to hit yourself over the head with a hammer a few times to see if the cuckoo noise comes out of your ears. How can this be normal, being in a different place every day, surrounded by different people? I imagine the only thing you could liken it to would be the military, but at least that gives you a purpose. To go on tour, you have to believe, well, maybe people will like our band, and maybe we'll be rock stars. That's the whole point, to be rock stars. No one puts a normal life on hold and leaves friends and family behind for months on end because they think their band will sell a couple hundred records. You do this for the big one, the be-all, end-all of music careers, to be a rock star. Whatever this lifestyle is, it's making me tougher. If Needleman wants to get punched in the face again, then fuck it, let's go get punched in the face. These days are disposable, and these nights are never ending, and I'm beginning to realize it just is what it is. So I wanted to ask you guys if you had any questions for me. How'd you
pick the two passages?
How did I pick them? I went for the most monologue-driven because the book is focused around a central character and then 5 band members, and then another tour person is added, and then the main character has a best friend, and it's like, if you haven't read it, it's just going to sound like a bunch of weird names. So I just went for main character-centric. Hi, Jane. I mean, hi, visitor, I don't know.
What percentage is true?
Oh, boy. So I've been thinking about this, how to address this. And I want to remind you guys that my parents are here. and they've read the book. And I will tell you this one factoid that is true. Orange Cat was real. But that's it. Everything else. Cat's real. Anybody?
What inspired you to write the book?
That is a really intense question. I could totally gloss over it and say something made up, but to tell you the truth, I had a health scare. Doctor found a tumor in my body, and I got really scared that I was going to die. And I was working a job writing commercials in advertising, and I felt like I needed to write something of substance if this was going to be it. So in the middle of a lot of intense medical testing and serious freakouts, I wrote a book. And I'm okay. Everything's fine. I'm still here, strong like bull. But yeah, it was really like, oh, okay, maybe I need to get some things done just in case.
On that same note, I'm just wondering, did you want to write a book before that happened?
I've always kind of messed around with this story. The story is loosely based on my life. So I started going on tour when I was 19, and when I was about 25, it started to like dawn on me that this is really cool. Not everybody has an adolescence like this, and maybe I should share it. But it took a really long time to like formulate it into a story, because otherwise it would just be, and then we drove here, and then this happened, and then, you know. So, yeah, I've always been playing around with it.
Have you thought of any other books? For example, I know your family isn't familiar with the Boston Irish Mafia.
My next book will be called The Departed 2. Electric Boogaloo. I think one day I'll sit down with my father and just record him for hours. Hours and hours and hours, and see what happens. He's got great stories.
Amy, I remember your zine that you had for a long time. So are the two, I mean, because you were writing for a long time, even before the book, and I was between the records, and you've always done writing. Were these in any way connected?
I think I've been on a path to write this book since I learned what writing was. In high school, I had a zine. Everybody, this is my English teacher. I still call her Mrs. Ullman. She was incredibly encouraging in my formative years. And in high school, I just liked to write about music. So it's really just the same thing, just a bigger scale. Hopefully a better editor. You, kind sir.
So I know you wrote you had your own music and stuff while you were in high school. But while you were on tour, did you ever journal or write in a diary or anything like that while you were on the road?
While I was on tour, I was literally just trying to keep everybody alive and call my mom once a day. It was like anything else was like any spare time was spent sleeping, which most people in here know I really enjoy sleeping.
In those days were pre-texting, right?
Oh yeah,
So
we
you
were.
did have to call.
You had to call from a payphone because we didn't even have a real cell phone.
What's your message for kids who are teenagers, younger than 18?
Find what you love and do it. If you want to go on tour with a band, find a band and go on tour with a band. If you want to be in a band, start a band. Nothing really happens until you do it. You just have to do it.
Did you play any instruments yourself?
I am musically challenged. For those of you that have heard the Crimson and Clover songs, that's my first jaunt into actual songwriting. I wrote with another songwriter, but I cannot sing. I really shouldn't dance. I'm just like the ultimate fan. Like, I was just happy sitting here watching Derek play. Like, I just love it. But I just don't have that talent.
So you did do some songwriting, though.
Yeah, I wrote some lyrics. It was a really intense experience. Yeah. Hi.
Your experience, the book sounds a lot like the movie Almost Famous. How, was that an accurate depiction of the lifestyle?
Yeah, Almost Famous hit really close to home when I first saw it because I was touring when it came out. And it was like, this is my life, but in the 70s. So instead of scary drugs, there were Quaaludes, which are totally scary too. I wouldn't know though. Just digging a hole like really deep. But I love Almost Famous. Yeah, you know, when I meet people and they're like, "What's your book about?" I just say, "It's Almost Famous in the 90s with a girl," and they're like, "Ah." I mean, fundamentally they're different, but a tour story is a tour story is a tour story.
Do you think the Stones tour the same way like these groups in your book?
Did I think the Stones tour the same way?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think maybe like the first month of the Stones was like in a van and stinky. And then people saw Mick Jagger and it was like, ah, get that kid a bus, get him a wardrobe, like, but the stresses and the feelings, I have been told, and I agree, are completely the same. You feel totally alienated from normal day-to-day life, and you keep pulling yourself out of it and going on tour and then coming back to it, and you're like, I'm not used to having 5 people not around me all the time, and no one's talking about who has to go to the bathroom all the time. So the tour stuff is the same, but the scale, I think, was much different.
I received the Crimson and Clover CD when I got the book. Is it safe to say that it's not a real band? And is there anybody in the band who at least recorded the music that we may know or recognize?
We'll see. The future of Crimson and Clover is to be determined. It definitely came to life with the book, and I wanted to bring it to life even further with music. But we'll see where the music goes.
So, was the actual name of that gay bar Cheers?
Yes. Yes.
And then I have to know what the actual name of the band was. Because I used to go to shows there all the time. It was amazing. Amazing.
So Cheers, I had a friend that passed away in high school, and I wanted to seed him into the book, and his last name was Hall, so I renamed Cheers the Hall. But the band is every band I've ever known, all combined into one big mess. I think if one band was actually that crazy, it'd be too much to handle. But it's all of the bands I've worked with my label. It's all the bands I book shows for. I started to realize that there are these like archetypes that like the lead singer is the lead singer. Like they're all the same. Sorry, buddy. You know, the bassist is always the bassist. It's just like this weird thing. They never drive. They're always late. Like, it just happens. Is that it? Wow.
Is the story of the cat you found really the cat you found?
Orange Cat is real, as you know. Orange Cat was real, but I did not find him on tour. I think I'd have to be like absolutely insane to keep a cat on tour. I just wanted to write him into the story. I just loved him so much. It's how he lives forever.
Would you ever go on tour again?
Oh God. If that's your way of asking me, no. Maybe under the right circumstances. Yeah, bus tour. Buses are great. It's strange now that like I'm grown up and married, and I have 2 cats. So they'd both have to come. But maybe for a weekend here or there would be fun.
I want to tell Derek, Carol's not going on that tour with you guys. You're staying with us.
She'll stay home. She'll ship you merch as you run out. Like, she's great at it. Yeah.
I have a question. Why did you choose to go with a quasi-fictional over an autobiography or an embellished biography, if you will?
A lot of people would be really mad if I said what really happened to who and when. I didn't want it to be like a tell-all expose. I felt like it was just so much more natural as like a linear novel. I find that unless you're in a band and you live that, like the Rolling Stones, you really don't have the right to do that. I didn't want it to be seen as like he said, she said kind of thing. I wanted it to be just like, this could have happened because this is what it was like.
Mine's related to that. How'd you come up with the names for those who shall not be named?
I went through names that I would have picked for children that my now husband was going to veto. So they're all my babies. You know, you just gravitate towards certain names your whole life, and then you realize, I don't have the full say in this matter. So you save them. And that's it. That's how it happened.
I wonder, we promoted a rock concert with the Beach Boys, and it was a big bust, but everyone lost money.
Oh.
But the feeling of the high, preparing for the concert, the towers going up and the stage being set and whatnot, you felt like you were going to be, it was extraordinary, even though it was a bust.
Yeah.
And even the event, even though it was a bust, was extraordinary. Did you all get a high each time you did an event like that?
I think touring like day after day, when you're in the bubble of it, it's a different feeling. When you're on the outside and you're planning like a singular event for a band, there's definitely excitement, but you feel this like combined high, like everyone involved on the tour. It's like you feel like special, like you feel invincible, which is bad, but you know, you feel like there's 6 of you in a van and you pull up to a gas station that you'll never be at again, and you can do whatever you want. Like, so it's a different feeling, but there is like a buzz to it for sure. And there's always the like, when you pull up, if there's no one there, just the mood just crashes. Like, and then you do the like, well, it's good practice. Like, you know, you can play some new material, but everybody's really sad. Yes.
What was that experience like?
You will find out in book 2. It was an amazing experience. I had a record label that I started here, and it was like a chance to really see what it was really like a real distributor and a real office. It went from like, you know, bedroom style, like, well, I have 1,000 CDs next to my bed, to like, there's a warehouse and there's 15 bands around the world and you're checking on all of them. So it was cool. It was really cool.
And then there's Criminal Records.
My dad thinks that my label should have been called Criminal Records. It's taken. One more? Anybody? Mom?
Crimson and Clover's a song. Who's the band that actually did Crimson and Clover?
The first rendition was the Shondells.
Really?
But then it's been covered several times. I actually borrowed it from Joan Jett.
More acid rock later.
Yeah, I'm a Joan Jett fan, and I felt like Crimson and Clover needed to pull from like actual rock history. So that's where that came from. Whew.
Thanks, Amy.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank
for
you. Is that all? Come on. And also, Derek, stand up. It's wonderful music tonight. Folks, thank you so much for joining us for this very, very special event. If you're watching online, you still have time to give us a call. We'll get a book autograph for you. For those of you here in the store, if you could do me a great favor to get some room in the room, fold your chairs, line them up in the back. The books are for sale at the counter. Bring them out here. Amy will sign them for you right here. Stick around. We got live music in the courtyard tonight. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, everybody.